Hi everybody, it's Lisa Young Sutton with another Method of Distance video, or as I call it, MOD. Alright, so for any of you who haven't seen my other MOD videos, the Method of Distance is also known as the Near and Far Method, and is the original method of interpretation that this little old deck here was designed for. Now today we're going to look at a spread that I took out of my files from a couple years ago, and it's going to answer the ever popular question, is he cheating? Now, before I get into the spread, I want to mention something about systems, because yes, MOD is a system. All right. And the reason why I want to mention this is because so many people, I have heard so many people say that they don't like systems because they prefer to use their intuitions. That's what I say about that. So, in order to, I'll tell you what's wrong with that. In order to master the Petite Lenormand, you will need some sort of a system and, not or, and your intuition. Okay, you can't have one without the other. Let me ask you this. How clear do you want the messages from these cards to be? I've been asked by so many readers, how do I get the cards to fall so clearly? And how can they get the cards to fall as clearly for them? And I believe the answer is a simple one. I think that other than what I consider to be the biggest issues, namely confidence and focus, I'd say that a lack of committed core meanings, that's your primary vibes, right? A lack of clear understanding of the positive and negative energies for the cards, and a lack of a firmly established method and technique, or methods and techniques of interpretation, also known as a system, are to blame. Okay, so if you're not clear about what you're doing, how can you expect a clear message from the cards? I mean, it's universal law, right? Like attracts like. So if you're confused, the cards will be confused also. Okay, you'll draw confusing cards. So not to worry, my friends, there's nothing rigid about a system and establishing core meanings or primary vibes. No matter what, card reading will always be a combination of system and intuition. Readings are performed in layers, right? Where you start with a standardized system and your primary vibes, and then you kind of move outward in waves to broaden the themes and extract more details. But you have to start somewhere. All right, so I've said enough about systems. Let's get back to the MOD system. All right, I am using the Purple Dragon Lenormand. It's a little mini Dondorf deck. I will mention that you can find in my book a chapter on the method of distance with the steps and the clusters and the life area cards and distance rules for all the cards and a reading example. And of course, Bjorn Muris, his volume 2 is devoted fully to the method of distance grand tableau. And I quickly want to mention that there are 2 other popular books where you can find, or 2 other books in English, I should say, that have method of distance information. Those would be Caitlin Matthews' book and Andy B's. But I have to mention that both of those books, the methods that they call method of distance are not the pure traditional method of distance form, right? What they did is they took certain aspects of method of distance and combined them with other techniques. Caitlin, I believe, also incorporates houses. Andy, I think, incorporates time frame divisions and mirroring. He also does counting rounds, different things like that. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. And believe me, I tested everything, to see what I could combine with this. But, I just like people to, my way of teaching is to teach the basics first. Like, learn the traditional method first and master that, fully understand that. And then you can see what of your other preferred methods you can incorporate with that. Okay. Now that I got that out of the way, let's get to the steps. Okay, now I've already gone through an explanation of all the steps in other videos. I am going to link a few videos in the description box below so that you can get more details if you're new with this. But I'm just going to recap the steps here quickly. Okay, so step number 1 is locate your seeker and partner card if applicable. And I mean if you've assigned a person to this card. Okay. But no matter what, you look for your seeker's card, you're looking for their position, okay? You really want to see them high and to the left because they have better control over what they're facing and what they're standing on. I mean, the flow of energy moves left to right because we read left to right, right? And the law of gravity states that, cards above are weighing down on the cards below. So that's why we want to see them high and to the left, okay? If they land in a corner, or in the center 4, then their position is being highlighted, and we can say that their actions will more heavily influence what happens in the time period of the spread. Okay? So after we look for the seeker and their position, we next look at the fate line, which I just call the bottom line because it is the bottom line, right? But this bottom line always has an important, message. It has something important to say that will help explain the main gist of the entire spread. Okay, then I look at the 4 corners because they provide the boundaries of the story, and they display important topics or influences affecting the story. I then look at the center 4 cards. You don't count the bottom line when you're looking for your center 4. That's these cards here. That's what positions 12, 13, 20, and 21. They provide the core of the story or the heart of the matter, like the center card of a box spread. They give you a theme for the spread. And because there's 4 of them, and then the way they're positioned here, other than horizontal interactions, you also have vertical and diagonal. Okay, now these kind of replace the first 3. Other techniques of GT interpretation, you always look at those first 3 cards. In mod, you look at the center 4, which I find far superior, of course, because of what I just said, because of the vertical and diagonal interactions. Okay. Yeah, I mean, mod is definitely not about linear reading. Okay, so now, next, I should say, I look at the comfort zone around the seeker. The comfort zone would be the very near cards. Those are the cards touching their card, and the next layer out. Those are the near cards, the very near cards, and the near cards. She has 13 because she's in the bottom. She has only 13, okay? You can also, at this time, knight the seeker's card, okay? The next step is to locate any life area cards that you are concerned with. You're not going to read every single one in every reading. If a client comes to you and says, I just want to know about work and health, well, then you're only going to look at your work card minus the moon. Most people, I think, use the anchor and the tree. Okay, so you're only going to look at the life area cards that you're interested in. You will also look at the comfort zone or the cards touching those life area cards, how those life area cards connect to your seeker, and you can also knight your life area cards. Okay, next, I was going to say lastly, I think it's last, you locate your clusters, including what I call the danger duo, which is the scythe and the clouds. Okay, so clusters, what's up with clusters? Okay, well, you're looking for, there are groups of cards that have something similar in common, right? Something similar in common. Does that make sense? They have something in common, okay? They have a theme, a common theme, right? And you're looking to see their proximity to the seeker and to your life area cards, and you want the positive clusters close and together, right? You want them close to the seeker and you want them together, close to each other. I couldn't think of the word. You want the negative clusters well dispersed and far away, okay? Okay, and as always, at the end of any GT reading, I mean, as you go through the GT, you're writing down all of your findings or typing them up, and then at the end, you want to summarize it all, and you want to translate it into an easily understood vernacular for your seeker. Okay, don't just read all your findings to your seeker, just summarize it all and you know, put it into words that they can relate to. Okay, now what makes a method of distance grand tableau a traditional, let me keep throwing that in, excuse me, what makes a traditional mod GT unique from other methods? Its primary focus is on proximity of cards to the seeker or any life area cards rather than on houses. There's a greater emphasis placed on positive and negative energies. It provides in-depth information for a single time period. So you always establish a time frame for the spread rather than dividing it into different time periods. And it's the only method that incorporates the cluster system. Okay, so what don't we use in a traditional mod GT? We don't use houses. Okay, they were not part of a traditional system, and I personally found them to muddle the reading, so I eliminated them because your focus is on proximity, not on houses. I could not find a way to see it both ways. It just requires a different mindset. Okay, you will also not divide your spread into different time periods. Mod GTs are all laid for a specific time frame, either a look at the present moment, like a snapshot picture, right, of the present moment, or a look at the present moment into a specified number of weeks or months into the future. This is a 6-month spread. Or an all past GT is also possible. But we don't divide it into past, present, future, or divide it into specific like month columns or anything like that. We just don't do that with method of distance. The two seem to be, in my experience, the two are mutually exclusive. Okay, we also don't use mirroring in traditional mod because mirroring is a technique of cause and effect, which is better suited to spreads that are broken into time periods. Plain and simple. Now, why do we use knighting and not mirroring? Well, simply because knighting is a technique that provides us with pairs of cards within the perimeters of the comfort zone. No matter what, when you knight, you're not leaving the comfort zone. All right. We also don't use counting rounds. They just, simply because they weren't part of the traditional system, really. I mean, you can use them. I used to. But the reason I eventually eliminated them was because I found that they were a waste of my time. They never added anything that I didn't already know. It was just overkill. Because you glean so much information from a method of distance reading that it's like there's nothing left to be said. You don't need all these other methods. If you're incorporating the clusters into all of this and all of the method of distance techniques, you won't need the techniques that you find in other methods. Okay, now let's look quickly at today's spread, because it's for Scarlett. Scarlett wants to know if Rhett is cheating on her. She also wanted to know if their relationship would continue. And like I said, this is a 6-month time frame. So Scarlett is the seeker and Rhett is the partner. So now I read this just as if they were a married couple because they had been living together for 7 years rather, excuse me. They had been living together in a monogamous relationship for 7 years. So I considered them a married couple. So I read all the cards as if they were married. Okay. Let's just quickly run through the steps. So, you look for the seeker first. So Scarlett is in the bottom row. So most of the cards are behind her and above her. So that's telling me she has little control over what's about to happen to her. Rhett, on the other hand, is large and in charge up here, feeling like he has control over everything. But they are far apart, and they don't even have a primary connecting card, which would be here. And their secondary connecting card is the fish, which just tells me there's an abundance of deep and flowing something. I don't have the countering card to tell me what. Now that's right there. There's a technique that is not traditional mod. That's the only one I kept because I found that it worked with mod perfectly every time. In other words, it's the method of giving the seeker the row and the partner the column and then connecting them, finding what connects them. Okay. So there you go. There's something non-traditional that I incorporated. Okay, now, let's see. So other than her position down here, you know, like I said, that because she's all the way in the bottom, that means she doesn't have a full set of comfort zone cards. She only has 13. But I do look at the number of negative and positives in her comfort zone. And she, like, of the 13 cards, she has 6 negatives. And I'm counting the birds in the book as negative here, excuse me, because, wait, let me get a drink of water. I've been talking a lot today. The reason I have them listed in my book as neutral negative cards rather than just neutrals, because in Method of Distance, they are more negative when they fall near. So because they are touching her, they are considered negative here. So only 6 of the 13 are negative, which tells me that she is going to face some difficulties, but she's going to be able to handle them, right? Now the cross, that brings me to the concept of the cross being out of her reach. That tells me that she'll have to endure some hardships beyond the period of the time frame of the spread, which is 6 months. Okay. Now, the bottom row here, the bottom line, is also her line of sight, and that tells me that her journey is heading toward change, which will lead to a somewhat painful ending. But with the stars above the coffin, this tells me that this is an ending that's meant to be, and that she'll eventually accept and understand, right? Now the corners tell me that her relationship is currently at a standstill, and that a tough decision is going to lead to heated negotiations. All right, now the center 4 contain the house, right? So we know that something in her personal life is being highlighted here, and with the cross above it, there's going to be some kind of devastation entering her personal life. Now the event is going to be important and certain. We get that from the key, and there's going to be a sudden interruption or separation of something from her home life, right? That's what the scythe is telling me. Now, so again, her positions shows that she is not influencing anything. There's nothing below her, but there's a lot influencing her. Now the book directly above her head tells me that she's about to find something out that's going to be troubling. That's the meaning in the near position. And the stork and the coffin, as I already mentioned, show that a change will lead to an end. And again, we go back up here. Remember, these are all her comfort zone. All of these cards in here are her comfort zone. You know, right away, I keep seeing that house there in her comfort zone with two negative cards. Actually, well, you know, look at all the negative cards touching it. So, you know, with the side facing the house, there's going to be something cut away permanently, right? This is irreversible, irrevocable cutting away, right? And on the other side, we have the cold and isolating card of detachment and an enemy. So we can say there's an enemy in her comfort zone. And going back to the side, I right away, when I see something like that, I look for the mice, because when the mice is out of reach, it tells you that whatever is lost during this time period most likely will not be recovered. Okay. So, also in her comfort zone, we have the clouds. And the clouds is above her social card. So we can say that her social circle is currently being obscured by the clouds. She's not seeing what's going on in her environment clearly. Okay, so now knighting provides me with only one pair. I only knight when I have a pair. Okay, so I'm not going to knight over here because I don't have another card. Same with here. Okay. And there's nothing to knight down here, so that just gave me this pair, which tells me that a dangerous and hidden enemy is about to be removed. You know, that's what I got from that. Okay, so now the only life area card I am interested in for this question is the ring for the relationship. and it is part of the relationship trio, or the love cluster, as I call it. So we will look at all three of those cards right now. So let's start with the ring. Now the ring is to the left and very far, which for a couple indicates an unstable bond that is completely out of reach during the time period of the spread. So while that by itself does not indicate the end of a relationship, it is the most troubling position for this card. We still have to look at all of the other cards before we can say a relationship will end. You can't just see this being left and far away and say a relationship will end. You have to put everything together. All the information has to be read together. Okay, so next we look at the anchor. Where's the anchor? Anchor is also very far, which for a couple says that the safety and security of the relationship are currently out of reach. This position can also indicate unfaithfulness, but you need other cards to confirm that as well. But that does always lead me to look at the cards around the seeker and the partner. You know, looking at Rhett's card, you know, this is all I needed to see, really. The fact that the anchor is far from her, and seeing the cards around Rhett really gave me my answer. I mean, here we have the cards of sneakiness, the fox, we have the deceit of the snake, we have an unhealthy situation because the tree is touching him. It's also shading his the moon, right, which is his reputation card. And we have the card of taking a gamble and grabbing an opportunity here, the clover. Now his column, like I said, I give him the column, also told me that like betrayal and entanglement, you know, he's involved in betrayal and entanglement, which is currently hidden in the in their social circle, right? Her social circle. Okay. All right. Now the third card of the trio is the heart, and it has landed. Interestingly, all three of these cards landed together, you know, close together and far away. The heart landing far away for a couple tells you that there's been, on her part, on Scarlett's part, there's been a fading of passion for Rhett. Okay, now this could explain why, you know, we're not saying for sure yet that he has strayed, but if he has, the heart far kind of may answer why he did, you know, if he did. Okay. Now, the other clusters that I looked at for this type of question are the cluster of adversaries, the interpersonal, the celestial, and the providence clusters. Because all these clusters provide everything you need to know about what the seeker is up against and where she'll receive support and relief. Okay, so the cluster of adversaries is the snake, the fox, the mountain, and the mice. And now she only has one in her comfort zone, the mountain, right? But in this case, we would have liked to have seen the mice in her comfort zone, because we know something's about to be removed, and this would have told us that it will be recovered in the time period. Okay. Now the lack of the fox and snake in her comfort zone told me that she's not facing the same level of dishonesty and opposition that she would have been if they had been near. Okay? I mean, when they're close, they're definitely a warning that she needs to practice caution. But being far away told me that there was a part of her that wasn't surprised or going to be tragically upset by the changes that were coming her way. And then I immediately went to the interpersonal cluster, because that kind of is the counterbalance of the cluster of adversaries. And that consists of the child, the dog, the garden. Right, yeah, just the child, the dog, and the garden. Okay. Now, again, she only has one of the three in her comfort zone. Now, when these cards, your interpersonal cards, when they fall close to the seeker's card, you know that you're being respected and appreciated by others, and that you can count on them in times of need. That's basically the meaning of that cluster. So you have to remember that the traditional child meaning speaks of the querent's character and how others perceive them. It references like goodness and kindness and an innocent demeanor, right? Like think about the way you feel when you interact with a young child as opposed to adult. So that kind of explains what that's all about. The dog is the card of loyalty and unconditional alliances and receiving support from those who are closest to us. You know, we can look at the traditional dog as more of a watchdog or a guide or a service dog. And the garden, when that's near the seeker, it tells us that the seeker can depend on the support of others. Okay, so that's the only one she has in her comfort zone, which probably explains why her moon is far away as well, because she's probably become a bit estranged from those who are closest to her, and is not being currently viewed as being very congenial because she's been so wrapped up in her problems with Rhett, right? I mean, that's pretty much how that turned out. Now, the celestial cluster. To get a complete story about the celestial cluster, I'm going to link my blog number 35 in the description box below. Okay, because that's all about the celestial cluster. But to summarize, we can look at the stars as our guidance system that tells us if we're going in the right direction. We can look at the moon as the card that tells us if we're being recognized and respected by others, or even appreciated or being honored maybe. And we can view the sun as the sun is the giver of energy and warmth and clarity, and even it's the giver of life itself, right? But it intensifies the positive cards that it touches, especially the botanical cards, right? What are the botanical cards? They are the clover, the bouquet, the garden, and the lily. It also brings the positive energy of courage and vitality and energy itself and warmth to negative cards. So you want all of the celestial cards near and above. That's their perfect position. If you can't have that, you at least want them near, and if you can't have that, you at least want them above. Okay. Now for Scarlett, like I said, her moon is out of reach. She's not currently being respected by others, definitely not by Rhett. And probably because she's been so wrapped up in her relationship with him that she's been ignoring everybody else, right? So she's not being recognized by anybody right now so much. Well, anybody close to her. I mean, she does have the garden near, and it is touching the stars. So, you know, there are some people in her environment that are still not recognizing her, but supporting her. They're there for her, right? Okay. Now, her sun is just out of her reach in the far cards, but interestingly, and this is going to lead us to the next cluster, interestingly, they are touching the three cards of the Providence cluster. The Providence cluster is the child, the bouquet, and the lily. And the sun is touching all of them, and it's even directly above the bouquet, right? So even though this is all out of her reach over here, the fact that it kind of grouped itself together is significant, okay? So the Providence cluster, let me just say that the Providence cluster tells you, when it falls near, it tells you that the seeker will be rewarded by the universe for their goodness and kindness. That's the meaning of it. Now, they're all out of her reach, but the fact that they were all together and the sun was touching all of them had a message in itself, and I found it the position very interesting, also because it's blessing. These cards are all blessing her major decision card, right? This is like major decisions about which way to go in life, right? So with the sun there and these cards blessing this card, I saw it as that if she just makes some changes in her life, she truly will be blessed. Okay, so I think I got that all in there. That's it. So what was the question? What was the question, people? Is Rhett cheating on her? What do you think? How about if you leave what you think in the comments below. Okay, so that's enough for today, my friends. As always, I hope you found this video informative and enjoyable. Now go play mod with your cards. Bye, everybody.